This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, August the 31st, 2021, episode 346. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. My name is Nick Craig. You can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you'd like to check out my my political rantings, you can check out my daily radio program, Wilmington's Morning News, 6 to 9 a.m. on the Eastern Time, or you can download the Wilmington's Morning News podcast. All of that information is on my website, nickcraig.com. Joining me with a hot new background, really hanging out in the millennium, Brian Aldridge. Hello, Brian.
Now I really feel like a Twitch streamer. So green screen.
Yeah.
Now I gotta have it over my windows, like in the corner, and then I'll just have something else in the.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say you need where's the hot tub?
I know hot tub's next. We'll have to adjust the setup a little bit. Just put a giant hot tub right here. I'll just do the show from a hot tub.
Well, I mean, that's girls are making thousands of dollars a month on Twitch doing that. So, I mean, you know, if it works,
I'm sure that'll up our numbers like you would not believe.
Honestly, I don't know how it could possibly get any lower. So, I mean, it's not like we're going to lose our audience. So,
I know. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead at Brian Aldridge, Gab Parlor, my blog, biteoftech.com. But first, just go to infectionpodcast.com. The right-hand side. And if you look, join our server on Discord, because that's pretty much where everybody hangs out most of the time. So if you want to submit news topics, maybe there's a topic coming up that you think we should cover, a game you think we should be talking about, it'll all be on here. Also, a Steam group. I put an automatic reminder that'll kick you one out when the time change happens. I'm sure you'll start getting them again. If you want to watch the video live, you can do that through Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive. We also have recordings on a number of those after the fact if you want to watch them. We have the podcast extras channel if you want to see some of our pre and post shows that we do. And then all the audio forms at the lower right. So whatever platform you want to use, it can be a mobile device, desktop app, all kinds of things. We have links for each one of those to find what you want. If you're going to be listening, I encourage you to follow along in the show notes. Just go to the particular episode that you want to watch or listen to, and then you can follow along. We got links to each of the topics. And if there's a video or anything else, you're more than welcome to follow along as we go. If you want to support us, we got a support tab up top, or you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support. We have our Humble Bundle, Amazon Prime, Prime Gaming now. We've got just lots of different ways that you can support us, and it's all on our website. So thank you.
Yes, it is. We are here the final day of August, as we are rapidly approaching the end of the summer months here. 2 weeks from tomorrow, Brian. Well, I will be. I think you're coming in a day later. We will be ascending. Maybe that's not the right word to be using. We will be traveling descending to Lost Wages, Nevada, to gamble away all of our hard-earned cash, take part in some degeneracy that will not involve any Zoom calls, and have a good time out in Las Vegas. So, very much looking forward to that. Meeting up with a couple of people that we haven't seen in quite some time, including our good friend Sean, what is Sean's title? Because we had to make him a title when we applied for press credentials. Do we remember what Sean's title was?
No, I'm trying to remember what he is. He has something to do with the background, like as far as like a producer or something. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to try to find what our friend Sean's title.
We need to find his business card. Is what we need to find.
That's what I'm looking for. I don't remember. I don't know if it's on this computer. We haven't gone to PAX in so long, but so yeah, that is that. We're heading out in a few weeks, and looking forward to that. So what's going on in your world, Mr. Brian?
Not much. I've been threatening that I'm going to be moving this computer. Finally, I was like, I'm doing it. And it went pretty smoothly. Got everything hooked up. The green screen's up. Nick and I, we were able to test here a couple days ago, yesterday, the day before, and it seems to be working. So I'm sure we'll kind of get it tuned up and getting better through the weeks, but I think it's pretty close to how we're going to set it up. Other than that, it's just kids are back in school, in between a hockey season right now. So just kind of taking it easy. We're going to be going out doing stuff. Are you doing anything for? Because you have a long weekend.
Yeah,
this weekend, right?
I do, and normally I am the host of hosts, the party maker that makes it happen. I'm going to be honest, Brian. I'm just not feeling like a Labor Day party. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah,
there's a lot of work to put it all on. People are, especially in my age range, non-committal tends to be a relatively large issue. So it's like, oh yeah, we're coming, and it's like 3 hours before.
Yep.
No, sorry, something came up, and it's like, well, crap. And then like 2 or 3 different sets of people do that, and now you've got food for 25 people, and there's only 12. So, I mean, there's still time
I'll be at a
for
place
things
with
to
really
change.
lousy internet, so or else I would entertain you.
There's still no. I mean, I'll go out or do something. I just don't think I'm going to have a bunch of people.
You're not planning something with a bunch of friends.
No, and normally, I like doing the outdoor parties. It's just, I don't know, man. It's a lot of damn work. I mean, what's going to end up happening is one of my friends will text me and be like, "Hey, man, you having a Labor Day party?" And I'll be like, "Oh, well, sure,
Bingo,
okay,
boom, shakalaka.
I guess so." So, no, not planning anything. At least here, I'm sure I will find something to do, as a 3-day weekend is relatively rare, and especially when a 3-day weekend involves produced content from somebody else, which is great.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so fortunately, Fox News is doing some big Labor Day special thing, so I have to do absolutely nothing. So I'm very, very pleased with that. I want to thank our friend UGX Vibe. I believe he is the sub leader, 43 months. He says, quote, "No pause left behind." Yes, agree with that. If you've not been following the news, agree with that, Bob. Thank you very much, and hopefully we'll get up there to the great capital city and hang out with him sometime soon. So that's pretty much what's been going on here. Where are you going? Out to the mountains?
Yeah, we're going up to the mountains. So usually, because our youngest birthday is right around this time, so usually this weekend we'd be celebrating his birthday up there. But we're kind of combining 2 family members' birthdays and doing it here in a couple weeks. So we're just going to go up there and hang out. So
excellent.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, I do want to quickly. Oh, damn it. I forgot to click start broadcast. Well, crap. My topic timer is not going to be. All right. Well, I guess we'll just skip the topic timer this week. I could have sworn I clicked it. I just want to quickly cover a story from last week that we covered.
I'm sure it's been bothering everybody.
Yeah, it was about the OnlyFans situation. And I'm not gonna. We spent literally half of it on. Literally half of last week's show on it, but they put out a tweet the other day. It said, "Thanks everyone for making your voices heard. We have secured assurances necessary to support our device creator community, whores, and suspended the planned October 1st policy change. OnlyFans stands for inclusion, and we will continue to provide a home for all creators." So your days of not being able to pay $10 a month to watch naked girls on the internet is not going anywhere. So huzzah. As the internet rejoices, this tweet has 36,000 likes and 11,000 retweets, plus 21,000 quote tweets. So obviously people very excited with the change here coming to OnlyFans. So just a quick note on that.
Yes. All right. And let's kind of continue. First of all, we haven't talked about Daybreak for a couple of weeks. There was something that came up with them, but there's something in the news. So first of all, the Daybreak CEO is now, remember they got purchased by a company? They got bought out. Yeah.
EG7 or something?
A subsidiary of Enad Global 7.
Okay.
And now G Ham, who was the CEO of Daybreak, is now acting CEO of Enad Global. Or Enad Global 7. So EG7, I guess we can call them for short, is now being run by Daybreak CEO. So that's quite a turn of events.
They didn't even have a picture of this guy on their website. They have a press release on here. G Ham, new acting CEO of EG7. They didn't even have a picture of him.
Well, and this is, so Robin Floden right? That was the previous acting CEO.
Yep.
And then G Ham, who I don't really know who that is. I mean, it must be just
I don't
somebody
remember
they
that name
hired
at all.
after. Mm-mm. So
It's
I've been kind of
interesting.
looking around. I just can't find anything about him.
It says to note here, it says during this transition, Robin will stay on for 6 months to assist G as he assumes his new role within the EG7 family. So obviously this is not a situation where somebody's being immediately ousted. It's just a change of something, and there's a bit of a process for that. So that's interesting.
That's weird. I see like a couple G Hams. Like they have G Ham CEO at Daybreak at theorg.com, but it's like just showing all the employees and naming them G Ham. I don't think
Yeah. Well,
there's three different people that could be G Ham. I don't know which one it is.
Maybe
I'm
he is
assuming
all-
it's the guy who looks like he's named G Ham.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not sure how I would know that. But
I wouldn't want to guess, but you know.
No, definitely not.
But okay, so yeah, G Ham. I found a picture on his Twitter. There's actually a picture of G Ham. So I've never seen him before in my life. So he must be somebody that when they got taken over, probably got assigned as CEO of Daybreak, and now is taking over this.
Interesting. Well,
so there you go. A little bit of Daybreak news. Who knows? Maybe this will turn everything around. I'm sure this is what they've been waiting
apparently
for.
There's some controversy about this because there's a YouTube video here. I'm not going to watch it. It says just survive news. G Ham CEO VG7. This is bad. And of course it's a really clickbaity video and it's only got 400 views. So I'm not going to look at it, but interesting.
Yeah. I was looking for anything that, just kind of weird, but this is just them putting out an official press release and, not sending any other real details. So I don't think people are digging into this information to figure out what this is going to do. I think people have given up on Daybreak for the most part, but I thought people might be interested in hearing about it. So we'll see if we see anything different, if they actually change direction, or if we just keep going the same way. I still don't think we're going to be seeing H1Z1 or Just Survive coming back.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some big things happened in China this week. And
big time.
First of all, they've changed some of the rules, and there's an article here from PC Gamer that's titled "China Really Doesn't Want Young People to Play Online Games." And what it is that people under 18 are no longer allowed to play games online throughout the week. So during the work days, I guess, they can no longer play video games, and they're only allowed to play video games online 1 hour per day. So at the beginning of September 1st, they're going to be able to play for 1 hour per day from 8 to 9 p.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and official holidays. So they have 1 hour that they're allowed to play video games on those 3 days.
I've seen many posts about this on social media from especially on our Infection Twitter account, which we've highlighted before is as progressive as it gets. And all of these people talking about how, oh, this is awful and so terrible. And it's like, you guys are missing the point that this is the kind of style of government that does this stuff in China is the exact style of government that you guys are pushing for. Like, this is what happens when you've got completely overreaching government. Yeah. Like, that's what this is.
Because I'm going to go political here for a second, but look at what some of the first things that the previous president did when he came into office. Deregulated. He pulled back tons of regulations. Certain forms of government love regulations. They love telling you exactly what to do.
I mean, listen to this.
What straws to drink out of, every little detail.
Listen to this. Players are going to be required to register with their real names under this rule, which I guess, screaming at people and using gamer words in Call of Duty lobbies won't be quite as lucrative. And online gaming companies are not allowed to provide any services, even a quote tourist experience mode, to unregistered users. All online games must also run through the National Press Publication Administration's online gaming anti-addiction real name verification system. And the frequency and intensity of inspections to ensure compliance will also be increased. So not only is this a rule in which you can say, oh, well, how is this going to be enforced? Well, this is how it's going to be enforced, because the gaming companies are going to have to register all of their users with the Chinese government.
Yep.
and keep track of this. What a freaking disaster for anybody that thinks
Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
for anybody that thinks that this form and style of government is a good thing. You're a jackass. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
This is what happens when a group, and I was going to say an elected body. They're not elected in China, or they might be. I don't know. This is what happens when you've got a group that is just completely power hungry. Now, you want to have the conversations about, and here's the thing, from what I do understand, obviously, and Brian, I'm not very well versed in China. There is some issue with their younger generation being losers and not wanting to do anything, but it's not because, in my opinion, it
doesn't have to do with video games.
Yeah.
There's some very interesting YouTube videos. I'm trying to remember. I'll have to look at what they are, but there's these two guys that lived in China for a long time, and they would do videos in China. Finally, they had to leave China because if they did anything that was deemed as possibly critical of the government, like bad things start happening to them. So it wasn't really worth it for them to sit there and do it. But these guys would talk about how just incredibly rude, because first of all, they have kind of a caste system over there, not like India caste system, but just these kids, if they have more money than another person, they just treat that other person like dirt, because for them, the caste system is money. They act like they act like people that are in America, that worry about money and think about money in certain ways are bad. But if you look at what they've actually created over there, it's a socialist country, but because they favor people so much in it, that it's turned into a caste system about money. And it's not based on here we have a caste system based on how well you perform, right? If you do something really well, sports, Elon Musk and his, making products, whatever it is, you'll become well known, and you'll be on the radio like Nick, you become well known, a household name, as they say, right? And I just think, yeah. Anyways.
Well, but again, it comes down to that. And by the way, I do want to thank our friend Melmo for hitting us up with a resubscription here on Twitch. Says good, less Chinese hackers. And I want to thank our friend Tag Durante. It says ready for Vegas, and I promise by the end of our trip I will be able to successfully pronounce his name. That is my mission. Between losing all of my money and pronouncing Tag's name, those are my two goals in our trip to Vegas coming up. Yeah, well, hopefully one of the two is accomplished. Hopefully both.
But I think that a lot of people, if you look at the form of government over there, it's incredibly. It's just they're hypocrites over there. They say
you don't say.
People aren't supposed to think about money, but most of what they think about over there is money. It's just I think the government and the whole society is just kind of turned on its head, because what the government's preaching versus what they do are two incredibly different things, and that bleeds into the country. And I think that's more of the issue than video games. The kids are being taught. They're seeing one thing. There's one thing's being said, and they're seeing the actions of another. And you don't think that makes a kid, a generation, dishonest when their government's constantly lying to them but saying it's okay? I mean, that's what they're learning from, and I just think that that's more of it than anything else.
It absolutely is, and this is nothing more than the scapegoat for all of that.
Yeah, they want to have a reason. Why is our system failing? And they'll constantly see that in
video games. Damn you, video games.
Yeah, they want to find a scapegoat. That's exactly what it is. They want to find a scapegoat. Yeah, they want video games to be it, because then they don't have to accept that it's what they're teaching their kids. It's the morals that they're teaching their kids, and all the aspects around it are why they're having so many issues with the current generation.
Yeah,
there's a lot of issues, and usually when you have freedom to make your own decisions, that's where people are happiest. They're finding that you saw that they changed the law. Now you can have 3 kids there, because they're having it to where so few people are having kids. And plus, when you incentivize, my wife and I were talking about this, when you incentivize having only boys, how are you going to have more kids? You can only have so many babies when there's a ton of dudes and a couple of females. The other direction works out. It's worked out in history to where a couple guys get a lot of women pregnant.
Sounds like every bar I go to on Friday and Saturday night. Lots of dudes and very little girls. I mean,
I know. Well, that's what they've created over there, and now we're turning around and they're like, how are we going to reverse this? Well, quit demonizing females. So, yeah. But this is their new rule. So we'll see if they change it. 3 hours a week. They can only play 3 hours a week. And the weirdest thing is they give you the exact 3 hours you can play.
It's kind of funny. Having looked at this, I was like, my initial reaction, of course, is, wow, this is crazy. And then I thought about it and I was like, I don't really play any video games during the week anyway. So I'm not sure that this, obviously this would suck, but I don't really play. I don't know if I play more than 3 hours of video games a week as it is.
Well, I know, but,
so
but if they said I have to be home at 7 o'clock to play this video game, like
it doesn't work. I just was like, oh, that's rather interesting.
They got the time zones in China, but you've got huge millions of people that are going to be logging on at exactly 7 o'clock to play whatever online game they play over there. The servers are going to be trashed. Like they're going to have to plan for all their players and child players. Well, I guess at least they can plan. They know that their peak is going to be exactly that 1 hour, but it's just a weird thing to do.
It absolutely is, but not surprising. And it is very interesting to see all of the bleeding heart leftists on the Infection Podcast Twitter account that are all outraged about this, yet continue to push some of this nonsense. Yeah. So I don't know. Again, they say all of these things are going to be followed. I don't know. I don't know anything about the Chinese government. I'm not going to research it because I frankly don't care. It's not my problem. But I don't know. Yeah. Maybe there will be some sort of decrease in hackers or something of. I don't know. Yeah. I'm sure people that want to circumvent this will have a way to circumvent this. There's the thing known as the Great Chinese Firewall. Yet people in China are able to access all of the internet if you try hard enough using VPNs and the Tor network and things like that. So I think they kind of turn the other, they turn the other cheek turn a blind eye until you do something they don't like, and then they'll come after you with full force. But I think over there, a lot of the rules are just kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod. You do this, but you just kind of watch what you do. You don't cross those certain lines. Because that's just from speaking to that person I was telling you about last week I was speaking to over there, that just kind of seemed like that was what they did. There's these rules, but those don't really matter till unless they want to come after you. The rules are there so they can control you, not to actually control you. They just want the ability to control you when they need to. Well, there you've got it. With that, Brian, another Asian country, South Korea, is on the other side of this argument. Yes. South Korea is getting rid of their controversial gaming curfew law. It's called the Shutdown Law. It was introduced back in 2011, and it was set so that kids who were ages 16 and younger could not play online video games between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., which I'm not sure.
Much more realistic.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure how many people were playing video games between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., but that has changed. And now that is gone. Microsoft recently unintentionally became adults only because it introduced Xbox Live integration in South Korea, in which you had to be at least 19 years old to register.
Yeah.
So and so obviously South Korea is much more of a democracy than China is. But here's the thing. If you wanted to talk about, let me say this for anybody that knows my political beliefs, I'm never a fan of government regulation in anything. And obviously I'm not a fan of banning games between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. I can understand that if in fact you do have an issue. I can understand it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. But obviously this was not curtailing or circumventing the issue, because after 10 years they're getting rid of it, because again, how many kids under the age of 16 are playing video games between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. anyway?
Yeah. Well, okay, now there's an odd thing, they're making all these changes over there. There's something else that's come out that actually might affect us, and this I think is going to be much bigger. But what they made adjustments to is South Korea is making a law that requires alternate credit card processors on for like iOS and other major platforms. So Android, iOS. are now going to be required to have alternate payment systems. The exact thing that we've been fighting over with this Apple versus Epic debacle. South Korea is coming in saying, and they're one of their biggest markets. I promise you, South Korea is a gigantic market. So for iOS to say we're going to bounce out of the South Korea market is not an option. So they are going to be forced to put in the system that they're claiming they shouldn't have to do. It'll now be in place. I think it's going to make it much easier for Epic to come and say, hey, you've already got it in place over here. Why are you refusing it to give it to us? You have the systems already made, in place, ready to go. It's going to make their argument against it much more difficult when now they'll already be doing it. So I think this will be interesting to see, because this is making them do. And do you think if this happens to where, let's say, people view positive things coming out of this, whatever, V-Bucks getting cheaper or transaction fees, all these things that they complain about with the Epic store. Yeah. All the things that they complain about being cheaper, or, that being marked up so much because of credit card transaction fees when they're dealing with all these different currencies. This would solve that problem. And I think that's what, for instance, Epic and all these companies are really trying to do, is make it so that the fees are lower so they make more money. And here, if they offer an alternative system, they'll have to be competitive, because otherwise no one's going to use their built-in system if another system is cheaper.
Brian, look, I got my Steam notification.
I know, isn't that great? It popped up finally.
It's only
40 minutes past.
Oh my goodness! Well, great. The podcast is starting. I do want to note,
I can't wait for the time change.
The illustrious Tim Sweeney, of course, jumped on this on Twitter, Brian, writing, quote, Korea is first in open platforms. Korea has rejected digital commerce monopolies and recognized open platforms as a right. This marks a major milestone in the 45-year history of personal computing. It began in Cupertino, but forefront today in Seoul, South Korea. So very interesting.
Now this says, and PH is pointing, he's saying, according to the rules of this, they just give a fine of 1% of their income in that country, which is more like, it sounds like a tax. They're saying, if you're not going to do this, we're going to tax you a 1% fee. So they may not do it. But for, hopefully this does make a difference. I'm sure if they're either wanting the 1% of all transactions happening in South Korea, or they're wanting them to actually change. We'll see, because they may adjust these laws and, see that they're just paying the fine. They may make it tighter, or maybe they just want the fee. It's kind of hard to say what they actually want.
Yeah, and again, because it's happening in South Korea, I'm not, as I've mentioned before on this program, I'm not a legal scholar by any stretch of the imagination. But
they made the fee low enough to where it doesn't seem like it's strong enough to make someone change. A 1% fee is cheaper than what it would cost them. Usually, if you're trying to incentivize change, you make the fee higher than the difference, so that you say, all right, I'll pay the, or, you if you want them to pay the fee, you make the fee lower. If you want them to actually fix it, you make the fee higher, so that it's cheaper for them to turn around and implement whatever it is you're trying to do. And they're dead. The 1% is nowhere near, they're charging 30%. That's a 15% higher than the average, what you're seeing from most places. Why would you give up 14%?
The only question I would have is, does this South Korea, and again, because I am not a legal expert, I don't know, does this South Korean change, will this have any impact for Epic's? Are they the plaintiff in this? I don't. Is it Apple v Epic or Epic v Apple?
It's Epic v Apple, I think. Hold on, let me double check. Yeah, Apple. No, actually, it says Apple versus Epic.
Okay, so if that's
Apple, because remember they made the change and then Apple kicked them off the platform for it.
Yeah, but then would they be suing them? Apple?
Well, they're suing them for making the change. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I thought it was Epic versus Apple, but they're saying this is Apple.
The question is, will this help Epic in either on the defensive or offensive side of their legal battle? I don't know I don't know if they can bring in other countries' legal. I don't know how that works. So it'll be interesting to see, nevertheless.
Yeah. And so this will be something I'm hoping that it does make a difference, just to kind of set some precedents and then we'll see where we go. But the case is in the decision phase. I don't know that this is really gonna.
Right?
Yeah.
Didn't we originally
it's coming up. I thought it was coming up this coming month.
Yeah.
In the next month that they're going to be making this decision or making a decision that's going to make it either move forward or that's what we'll have to look at.
We will.
So this is that's where we're at right now.
Well, Brian, we mentioned last week on the program that Gamescom was happening this week. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I'll come back to something else. Gamescom is happening this week. And there were some announcements. I'm going to be honest, there wasn't really a whole lot. But we did mention that there was going to be a new Saints Row game. So let's take a look at the Saints Row reboot trailer and then a very interesting note on where this game will be available after this. Let's take a look at the Saints Row reboot trailer from Gamescom.
Kev, you got eyes on the buyer?
Yep. Here he comes.
And I got the dealer. Nina, they're heading your way. They're here.
You should have eyes on the merchandise.
I sure do.
Was that a gunshot?
Yeah, they shot the dealer.
That is so unprofessional.
There's a lot of them. Can we do this?
We can't afford not to. Nina, you good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. Whenever you're ready, Kevin.
What are you guys thinking for dinner tonight? How about my world famous chili con carne? Hey guys, what you got in the... Oh, stolen Marshall MDI-101 M9 multi-rocket shoulder launchers. Nice. My buddies and I have been looking all over town for those. Have you been hoarding? See, we need them for our startup. It's a criminal empire kind of... Go! I'm talking to you! After him!
You should buckle up.
Kevin! Get the fuck away from my friends.
All right, so the Saints Row reboot is out. It has been, unfortunately, met Brian with some not great responses on various platforms. It on YouTube right now, the video has got 816,000 views. It's only got 22,000 likes, 46,000 dislikes, so a much higher, almost a 2/3 dislike ratio on it. And the other part of it is that on the PC side, it is going to be an Epic Game Store exclusive, at least for a period of time, which is very interesting.
Yeah, and this is something that has been happening. I was trying to see what their engine is, just to see if this is something that is, if there's a reason, because if they are Unreal Engine and it's going onto that store, they get even a bigger discount from their fees. So I was trying to look at what the engine is and see if it was Unreal Engine. Like, why would they do that? I mean, I'm sure they offer them a decent amount of money. It says a new game engine, so I'm thinking maybe it's Unreal Engine
UE5,
4, 5. Yeah, I'm trying to
5.
find. I don't see anything about Unreal when they mention a new game engine. So I'm trying to figure out what their game engine is, because they did switch that, but I'm not seeing an answer.
Some of the concerns that I've been reading, and again, I think we've seen one trailer, so anybody that has anybody that thinks they know exactly what the game is going to be right now is probably a fool, because I don't think any of us know that. But some of the things indicate it looks very much much more cartoonish. The characters kind of almost, they look like teenagers, not really hardened criminals like the previous Saint Row games.
Well, and if you look at the previous ones, there's some ridiculous things that were in those.
Very much so.
And so what'll be interesting is how much of that did they take out? That'll be because a lot of this is speculation. The internet loves to do this. They're not seeing all the weird things that they're used to seeing playing in Saints Row. But you know what? Saints Row usually never showed that stuff in marketing materials. It was there. The dildo weapons, wasn't that this game that did that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That was a very big. Yeah.
I mean, I'm whether that stuff is in there or not will be the determining factor, because I don't remember ever seeing those things on marketing. They didn't show people driving around hitting each other with giant dildos on their marketing materials they put out on the internet, right? So I wouldn't be judging this whole thing, because they know better than to do that, because that's going to turn away a lot of people from buying it, that probably wouldn't be doing that. So I don't know. I think it'll be more of a thing that we'll just have to wait and see the content, rather than these, few things that are there. They could have totally made it clean, but do you think that maybe they're going for more streamlined? Because look at how many people wouldn't play that game because of that stuff. There's a lot of people that did play it because they thought it was funny, but look how many people didn't play. Do you think they're going for a safer audience?
No, well, I hope not, because that's not what Saints Row has been. And I know that they're trying to reboot the franchise. PH bring up a point. The game looks like Fortnite, to be real. Yeah, I mean, it kind of does, to be honest with you. The stylization is very much like that. We are in a little bit of a different era of video. And let me say this. I was a big Saints Row fan. And I would like to see a similar Saints Row experience to what I play back on the Xbox 360. But I'd also, Brian, I'd be remiss if I didn't note and mention that we are in a bit of a different era of video gaming than we were back in 2010. So while I'm not necessarily, and again, justifying something that we don't know, because there's been no hands-on with the game yet. Nobody has any idea what it's actually like.
Okay, so can you play that next video, no audio, just in the background? Because there's a lot of the same. I put that in there for extra because there's some commentary by some of the voice actors, but I think they show a little bit more gameplay in it, if I remember correctly. Let's just kind of flip around. There's some actual video in the beginning. You could kind of jump in. So that's the voice actor of the main character that you saw in there.
Gotcha.
And then I think it kind of goes into this. So but it shows a little. If we could have this play in the background, because it kind of shows a little bit of what's happening.
Yeah. So again, I want to try to put yourself in the shoes of the developers of this, and again, not just if in fact this is Saints Row SJW edition, it will not sell well, it will not be received well, and people will hate it. That is a fact. That is an absolute fact.
Yep.
But we are in a little bit different era of gaming than we were 10 years ago. So making some changes that, the stylistic changes maybe, but if they're truly changing the whole, premise of the game, and it really is a much more PC style game and a much more, as you said, Brian, mainstream game, then it's going to be a flop, because that's not what Saints Row fans have come to expect, and that's not what they want. If they wanted a friendly, not, crazy game, there's hundreds of other games that they can go play. There are very few games like GTA and Grand Theft Auto that exist. And Grand Theft Auto and GTA are very much on islands by themselves in their brashness and brash nature that they take to things, the hardcoreness of the gameplay. And because of that, at least on the Grand Theft Auto side, it is one of the most well-known, most profitable, and most successful gaming franchises that's ever existed. So hopefully that's not the case. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was. We just don't. I don't know enough right now. You remember, Brian? We talked a lot about this back on the show, probably 4 or 5 years ago. This is, I think, another instance. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit it. I think this is yet another instance of the internet and Reddit jumping to assumptions based on what the game is going to be. There has been no gameplay that has been released. This doesn't count. This was released by the developers. The IGN, PC Gamer, nobody has gotten hands-on with it yet. Nobody sees what it looks like. Nobody knows what the story is going to be like. Until we see that, I'm going to hold off on my judgment. I'm very much looking forward to another Saints Row game. I think the games were a lot of fun when I played them. I was also probably 15 or 16 at the time, so maybe my preferences in game have changed. I don't know. But, I mean, from what I'm seeing here, you've got a group of, like, male strippers or something like that in a dance club running around and getting shot at. So, this, the whole idea that this is completely SJW is not, based on what I'm
can I
seeing
read you? Let me read you a few things, though. Let's listen to the president of this, or whatever the... Okay, the developers say that Saints Row's focus is, as at least early in the game, going to focus on the material concerns of its young crew. These disaffected millennial turn to crime, for instance, put food on their table, feel part of the community, and pay off their student loans. Chief Creative Officer Jim Boone says it's broadly a contemporary millennial power fantasy. It's only later that the game's focus switches to the sort of empire building that in the previous series eventually saw your character become president.
Yeah, so I mean, so they're using that.
So the beginning is kind of a millennial thing. They're taking, millennials being dissatisfied with, what they have, and then they turn to crime to get more. It's an age-old story. The exact same thing happens. You brought up, other games that are very similar. This exact same thing happens in Grand Theft Auto. It's somebody who's dissatisfied with where they're at with their status in life, right? And so they start stealing and robbing and doing things to make it to where they have money and they're on top.
Well, look at all the...
this is taking just a different dynamic of people and, doing it from their perspective rather than race or economic status. They're doing it based on, millennials and their student loans and being in debt and how are they going to pay these off? And bam, that's the story trigger. I don't know that it necessarily is going to turn all SJW. They're using that topic as an excuse for them going to crime.
Yeah, and if you look at the, Joe Pesci 80s mob movies, it's that, as you mentioned, it's an age-old tale. That's all of those movies. You have a bunch of immigrants that come to the country, and you get the Cuban immigrants in Miami. What do? They turn to crime because they're poor. They don't have any money. They build the empire. I mean, it's the age-old tale.
Again, Grand Theft Auto 5, you've got a guy coming out of the projects. You've got a guy coming out of redneck white trash area. Yeah, you got Franklin, and then you got a guy who's coming out of the white trash area. And then you've got a guy who's dissatisfied, who has everything. Yeah. I'm sure I'm not breaking the story for anybody who hasn't played Grand Theft Auto 5 yet.
I'm pissed.
Now they've got a guy who's dissatisfied with his... I'm sorry, spoilers. I mean, everybody owns like 3 or 4 copies of the game.
But
of course, we can't give away the basic story.
My Roth IRA is invested in copies of Grand Theft Auto 5.
But you see where I'm getting at? Like they're
Yeah,
all
exactly.
that story from a different perspective. They're wanting to get to the a story that is more relatable to the younger generation. Well, this is how you're going to do it. They've told, these places have told the story of all these other aspects. They're trying to come up with something new and different. Have you seen this one yet? I haven't seen this particular. I've seen hints at this particular story, where they've kind of said some of these things, but this is their. It depends how far they go with it. Do they go with total political, or is this just the launching pad? I don't view when they show somebody coming out of the projects as political.
That's
right?
exactly.
That's just
it.
a story.
But
yeah, and so I'm trying not to predetermine whether or not this is political.
But I will say, if they in fact do go over the top with that stuff,
they're going to kill it.
Oh, absolutely. The game will be a failure. This game has always been, a PHVCK says this game has always been a budget GTA to me. Nothing changes. Oh, it absolutely has been. It has never been to the extent of GTA. It's been a similar style game because frankly, we don't get it. The last GTA came out, 2012? And the next one isn't expected out for at least another year or two. This game is out in February, February 25th, I think, of next year.
Yeah, so something like that.
I'll say this. I'm looking forward to it. Now we learn more about it, and it looks like it's going to be some crazy, over-the-top, politically correct SJW game. I won't buy it, but as it sits right now, I'm all in.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, until they show me differently, I've learned my lesson. Sometimes the internet's right. I would say that they were right with The Last of Us 2.
Yes, they were.
Right? That was something going into. There were aspects that they went a little too far on, but I would say that 90% of it was accurate. But then I've had other ones where they were just totally off base. What they said was going to happen with the game was nothing like what actually happened when it came out. Until I see which one of it is, I enjoyed some of the other Saints Row games. They're just kind of, they're like what you enjoy Grand Theft Auto. You just go and do random stuff. There are some quests if you want to follow on quests, or you can run around and just blow stuff up.
Yeah.
If they are trying to go serious and compete with, there can be other Grand Theft Auto style games out there because it does take them so long to put out games in between. There is room in the market for more games like this. Just make a huge world, let people do whatever they want to do. I think people really enjoy that style of game. They don't come out very often where they're truly unrestricted. Grand Theft Auto is the only one that does it. If they can make something like that, more power to them. But that's going to be hard. They should rely on either going full bore for that or relying on the silliness that everybody enjoys. But going in between, I think they're going to lose their edge.
They absolutely will, and that's that. This will be settled one way or the other when we know what's going on with this.
Yep.
We do have some other stuff to get into, but I do want to mention this very quickly, Brian. PAX West is happening this weekend, and they released their exhibitor list and the individuals that are going to be in the expo hall. I'm going to pull the list up right now, just briefly. I don't want to lament on it too much. I know hardly any of these companies. There are very few companies. Bandai
Some of them are
Namco's
hardware manufacturers, gamer mats, and Foam Brain. I think like a lot of these are physical device things that they're showing off there, right?
Yeah.
Then there's a bunch of little small studios. Yeah, a bunch of small studios. There's some schools, that are promoting, coming to their school to learn game development and all that. There's not a bunch of the names that we're used to seeing. The big names, almost all of them are not there. And so it makes me really glad. One that you said you recognize was Bandai Namco.
They're the only one that I see that's big.
Is the only one that's big. Yeah, I can't see anything else that's, releases a big game that most people recognize. They're a bunch of small. Some are mobile.
Yeah. So
it's going to be interesting.
Likely going to be a subdued PAX, I guess is the word I would use.
Do you think that this is going to affect going forward? That's my question.
Christ,
Do you see next year that these exhibitors say, PAX isn't really, are they going to either stop putting so much forward, or are they going to pick one show and that becomes their new show? Because remember, the one show changed. There was another, what was it?
It was E3.
There was the one, E3 was huge. It's kind of faded away. I don't see PAX coming in strong. There's got to be something else that the big studios go to show
Well,
off their stuff and announce their thing.
Gamescom has always been bigger. Has always been bigger than PAX.
Yeah.
I would assume, Brian, that, and I hope you're wrong, and that that's not the case. I would assume that come next year.
I think I am wrong. I think I am wrong, and the reason that I think I'm wrong is because I think all of these are based off of the first Gamescom, which is one of the big ones. They make all of their sets and everything for all of these exhibits for that one, and then they ship them around and do the rest. They didn't do the big one, so there was no reason for them to sit there and make all those things. Or, do we put it in the cost when we're not even going to be doing a real booth this year, right? They decided no. That makes total sense. Next year, though, if there is a Gamescom, because right now you can't travel to Europe back and forth, so there's no real reason. There's Gamescom is not what it used to be. The studios aren't coming over there. I think next year, as long as things are opened up more, I think that they'll probably go back much more to normal. I think a lot of it's just because they didn't have that first one to create. So I don't think they're really going to go to anything big this year, to any of them. Even if some of them later in the year open up, they don't have the sets to do it. They don't have everything already done. This takes a lot of planning.
Looking at the schedule, the real question will be, like, what does PAX East look like next year in, I believe that normally takes place in March. I don't know.
Is that before Gamescom?
Yeah,
right?
way
that
before.
Gamescom is right after that. So that's my issue. Maybe some of those early ones.
Gamescom's that's in
it's
March.
Like a month or two, right?
No, Gamescom was last week. PAX is like the second week of March. So there's a pretty big.
But still, that's what I'm saying is they may not make it for those early ones.
What I think it'll be a good indicator as to whether people. And again, who knows what the COVID-19 thing will be next year. Got your 19th vaccine or whatever next year, and your we're on the
your monthly booster,
the Zulu variant or whatever is going on. So all I can say is, having read some posts online, people are very unsatisfied, rightfully so, with what's going on. So yeah.
PH is pointing out, he thinks that they're going to be turning to more of an online thing, which maybe will happen. They're going to have to look at, if people aren't coming out to these conventions because they're scared of COVID, why not do it online? Because if you scare people so much that they're unwilling to come to your things, there's no point in having them.
I would agree. So no PAX this year. Likely will not see anything coming out of PAX. Maybe maybe an indie game or two, but hopefully next year, Labor Day next year, we will have a full event. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. No, I don't. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. Is there anything super time
let me touch on.
Let's get into.
Let's touch on a few topics really quick that we don't need to go into so much. First of all, I have a video that'll be in the show notes of Dr. Disrespect talking about how he is going to be suing Twitch. So this is one of the first time that he's really talked about it. So I put a video in there. There's some language and everything else. It's the beginning of the video is all that really matters. Then he goes into gameplay. But I put it in there for people that maybe want to hear his statement on it. There's also an article there that you can kind of follow along with. I figured we might not want to play it because that's a lot of it's just his stream.
Yeah. It's about 4
do we want to play the
talking.
trailer? Do you want to play the trailer? How about the New World? They did a new trailer because they're starting the open beta on September 9th. This has some pretty cool visuals from the game, and I think people might enjoy seeing a little bit of that. So let's go ahead and play that trailer really quick. And this just came out for New World.
The stories you've heard, they don't tell the whole truth. The island is indeed a place of legend. There is power and vast riches as well. But many who've sought to claim them have simply vanished without a trace. fate. We can pretend no longer. This corruption must be stopped. I will say a prayer for the souls of your crew.
Dun, 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 dun.
Looking much more like a real game. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like it's starting. And this is, I mentioned last week, perfect timing with Blizzard and all the issues they've been having. Actually, let's talk about that really quick
Yeah, what you
because
got?
this isn't Blizzard. With their next update, they're going to be removing some developer names. You remember all the people that are getting pissed because of things that have been said,
Were
and
these people that were in the Cosby room?
yes, the type of people
Oh,
that
really?
had
No.
pictures of them in the Cosby room. First of all, one yesterday, it was announced that the player McCree, McCree in Overwatch,
Yeah, he's my
is
main.
he's getting his name changed because he was named after developer Jesse McCree, who of course must be a horrible guy. They said because they're promising making changes because this is going to better reflect our shared values. So that's McCree. So Overwatch is changing McCree. And then
Well,
you're
I
going to be
guess I'm
having
going-
some other.
I'm changing. I was when I play Overwatch, I bought between McCree and Reaper, and in solidarity with Jeffrey McCree, I'm going to switch my main permanently to Reaper. You heard that? You heard it
Yes.
breaking first here.
Reaper is what it is now. So what they've done, like for instance, one of the people was named in the California's lawsuit. Remember the California, the government in California sued Activision Blizzard, which was brought to light, that whole thing with the Cosby suite at BlizzCon. So he was fired from Blizzard in 2020 for the misconduct and his treatment of other employees, and then placed several other highly placed Blizzard employees, including McCree, LeCraft, and then former president Jay Brack, have all part of the company in the wake of these allegations as well. So they're starting to clean up, get rid of all. I mean, sounds like something would happen in another government. All of a sudden if you clean out their names, they didn't exist. Is kind of the thinking behind it. But that's where we're going. You're going to start seeing some patch notes and names of places and characters and everything else change for people that have done things that they didn't deem as acceptable.
Back to the New Worlds thing. UX_Frank in chat says, "I don't know why, but that didn't make me feel like I wanted to play it."
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't necessarily disagree with that, Brian. I would not necessarily call that trailer a suck-in trailer, but this is a weird style of game where it's kind of
people want something like WoW. That's the thing. I think they have to make it almost enough like WoW because they want to pull those people over. So they're doing some of like the visuals and look at this big environment. Look at these characters. They're doing it for a certain, I think, specific type of player they're trying to pull in from Blizzard right now. I think if some of the stuff wasn't happening, they'd be showing off some of the other features, but I think they're trying to do promotionals to pull a specific type of player, which I don't think is going to make it really click for your average player, that plays other type of games that doesn't play WoW.
Yeah.
But they're going for that player right now. That's what they want. They want to bring all those people over that thought WoW Classic was going to be great and didn't work out.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it right there, because as we've talked about with these style of games, again, these games are not for everybody. They're not.
Yeah.
So marketing them for everybody, I'm not sure is the best idea necessarily.
And that's what I think they're doing. I think they're there right now marketing for a very specific thing. For players that are looking for survival or something, this is going to be an MMO. I mean, just straight up a bunch of quests, grinding your gear up, and then doing PvP at the end. I mean, if you're not into that, then you're probably not going to like the game, other than maybe leveling and questing, you know, but you're not going to like the overall game. You know what? They're not marketing to you right now. And I think as they start to add features, I mean, look at all the other things you can do in WoW that they've added afterwards. They have pet battles. You can collect a whole side game of pets and battle them against other players. You know, there are people that just sit there and work the auction house because they want to get a bunch of money. There's people that collect pets and mounts that you ride. And I mean, just there's all these different things that you can do in WoW that they pulled in to kind of bring in these other type of players. This is a new game. They don't have all that other stuff. You know what they do? What they built first is something that they're trying to compete with the base of WoW, what it does at the core. And that's the questing, the grinding, and then the PvP or the dungeons and everything at the end. And if you don't like those, then I would be very surprised if they're trying to market to you, because that's what this core game is going to be.
I would also tend to agree with that.
Let's see. Anything else? I'll just mention one other thing that's starting to happen. Netflix is starting to remove, and we saw last week there was a licensing thing that went away because of Netflix in Dead by Daylight, and now Stranger Things 3 is being removed from Steam, from GOG, because they're looking at it as most likely going to show up in Netflix gaming app that they're going to be releasing. Probably if you have a subscription, you have games that you'll be able to play. Well, then an announcement right after that. Netflix has begun limited tests on 2 Stranger Things games in Poland. So, you know, they're starting to release their own games. They're pulling back all of their IPs because they want to control every single one of them.
Well, damn.
So that's where we're at.
There you go. You got it. You heard it here first.
I think, is there anything else you wanted to cover before we rolled out, or?
No, I think we're good. There's some other stuff that we can get into over the next couple of weeks. We're just at our hour limit here. So, Mr. Brian, I'll ask you, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab and Parler, or my blog, biteoftech.com. And that's biteoftech.com. And then if you want to go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, just go to the right-hand side and join our server on Discord. We've got a lot of people playing Ark. We've got people just hanging out. We've got different news channels if you want to get news or submit news topics for us. And we also have an updates channel if you want to see what games are being updated each and every day. Also, if you go on there on the upper right-hand side, we've got links to the various platforms we have. We've got YouTube, BitChute, DLive, Twitch, and then we have our pre and post shows on the Podcast Extras channel. If you want to listen, down the lower right-hand side, we got our podcast forums for whatever platform or device. And then we have our show notes. If you do want to follow along, maybe you're going to be listening, just click on a particular episode, and then you can watch or listen on there and follow the various links to articles, videos, and different things that we refer to throughout the show. If you want to support us, I just can go to the top. You see the support menu option, or go to infectionpodcast.com/support. On there, you'll see Amazon, Humble, Prime Gaming, just a lot of different ways that you support Subscribe Star, and that's all through our website. So thank you very much.
Yes, Brian, thank you as always. Appreciate all your work on the front end of the show here. And by the way, the Labor Day holiday here in the U.S. will not affect our show. We'll be here, right? You'll be back for Tuesday?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So we'll be here at our normal place, same bat time next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Yep. Well, Brian, as always, thank you very much. Have a good holiday weekend, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thank you.
Alrighty, folks. Well, if you'd like to keep up with my daily political rantings, you can check out my daily radio program, Wilmington's Morning News, 3 hours, starting bright and early at 6 a.m. Eastern each and every morning. I love nothing more than waking up at just after 3:30 every day. You can check that out at nickcraig.com. If you missed any portion of this program, you can check out videos to maybe that's Saints Row trailer, images, all that fun stuff. It's on our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great Labor Day weekend. We'll see you next time.